Welcome to Lab Games. I'm your host, Anthony.
I'm Francis.
Today we are presenting you
Thiefdom.
Yes, so Thiefdom is a 1 to 4 player pick-up and delivery game published by Karma Games, designed by none other than Juma Al-Juju.
Yes.
As you all may know from the smash success hit Clans of Caledonia. So what is Thiefdom? So Thiefdom, as I said, is a pick-up and delivery game set in 1420s Germany's Rhine Valley.
Yeah.
Players take the role of thieves' guilds, where you're going to control 3 thieves and do all sorts of nefarious thieving stuff in the city.
Yes.
At night.
Right. So the goal being, obviously, to get the most reputation, because the whole premise is that there's going to be a master guildsman, I guess. You're going to be like chief of all the thieves' guilds. So you want the most reputation. How are you going to get that? There's a couple of ways to go about doing that. Primarily because, again, this is a pick-up and delivery game, you're going to have opportunities for drop-offs, if you will, in order to cash in for all that reputation. So anything from stealing paintings and dropping them off to kind of a broker, or going and doing some bad guy stuff and getting wanted, and then going down to the dungeon and basically saying, no, you can't catch me, kind of dropping off that wanted poster there. Things like that will afford you the most points, but also you'll be collecting resources and things like wine and other like liquor and badges, and you'll be able to trade those in at other locations for additional reputation points.
And we'll show you all that momentarily in greater detail, because there's quite a bit going on here.
There's a lot going on, yes.
So here's the setup for a standard 2-player game. Now I'll take you through the general setup without going into too much detail, just to give you a sense of what's happening here. So in a 2-player game, the standard setup is used in the tutorial. Now the game comes with a tutorial, and it's going to walk you sort of all through the setup and the first few turns, just so you understand the mechanics, which we'll go through as well in a bit. But essentially, you're going to have sort of your scoring, your round tracker and your scoreboard on the far left. Down here, you've got your end game scoring. You have a moon tracker, which will be representing each of the nights. So we're going to do this over the course of 6 nights, and the victory point tracker going around that. There are 6 city tiles placed in this particular setup. The tiles are numbered and they're double-sided, so there is variety in that. But there are specifics with regards to what types of buildings you do need to have represented in your city for the gameplay to be balanced, right? And those locations as well. Around the edges of the city, you'll see these smaller tiles that represent catacombs and villas. Yeah. Right? And we'll talk about how those work as well. In the 2-player game, there are 3 sets of guards and nobles. So if you take a closer look here, you'll see the black meeples with the eyeballs are your guards. And they are... Well, for the purposes of this demo, they're looking up at you at the camera. But during the normal play, you're going to have them standing. And their eyes are painted on one side of their head because they only have one set of eyes. Right?
Which would be really creepy if they did.
Yes, it would. Line of sight is important when it comes to the guards, and as well as your thieves, because the guards are going to be patrolling around the map from lantern to lantern. And depending on which way they're facing, where their eyes are, will determine the alleys that they get to look down. So like, for example, this guard would see all the way to the end of this alley until they're obstructed, right? You'll also notice that between each city square there are walls that do block line of sight, so he would only see up to here, as well as travel when you go from city square to city square, right? So those guards all start outside of their villas on the lanterns, and then you have the nobles that are also starting outside of the catacombs, because what better to do at night when you're a noble but to walk around dark catacombs, right? So they're all going to start as well by there, and they're basically ripe for the picking, right? Nobles are out; they're carrying purses, and in those purses is an assortment of gems and gold, which we'll show you how that works as well. And then finally, up here we have this cart, which is a wine cart that is transporting wine through the city. That's also going to be moving around and creating opportunities for your thieves guilds to do that. Yeah. From a player setup perspective, you're going to have a player board. You're going to have 3 thieves, and 4 of these thief action tokens, which will be numbered 1 through 4,
Yep.
that determine the order of which you're guessing, and you'll see that in a second. In the 2-player game, each player is going to get one of these action boards that will activate the patrol, right? And it's called a patrol board. So you're gonna be activating different guards and nobles alternatively in every round. This is going to pass back and forth, and you're also going to get one stamina token, which will allow you to push your actions a little bit further, which we'll explain also as well. So if we come back out here,
Yep.
I believe that is the majority of things with
setup.
basic setup, but I do have to talk about the draft.
Yes.
All right. As well as the equipment. So you do have an equipment offer, which is your equipment deck and your 4 items on offer. You also have a friend deck, which you'll be using to recruit friends as well. But what's most important here at the beginning of the game is the draft. So during the draft, you're going to be drafting 2 pieces of equipment. Every player starts with 8 gold, so you're going to be actually buying the equipment to start your thieves with. So in this case, I started with climbing tools and a sack, which cost me 7 gold, of which I have 1 gold remaining, and it's in my hideout. I can then assign these to 2 or 1 of my thieves, depending on who I want to be able to use these items during the game, right? So if I assign these to these 2 particular thieves, then they get to use them. And you'll notice that each thief can have up to 2 different pieces of equipment assigned to them during the game. And up here is where you would assign any friend you pick up, and they can only have 1.
Exactly.
Last piece for setup is their hideout. So you're also going to randomly choose wherever you want to be in any one of these buildings throughout.
This is where the tutorial has you set up. So
yeah.
that's where
So
we usually
like
start.
for example, my hideout is here. It's blue. This is where you'll be bringing back all the things you pick up, your loot, for example. And that's where my thieves are all going to start. Each thief is unique in shape, and you need to know that because each thief has a different name, and they're going to have different equipment, and they're going to be doing, and you're going to be able to keep track of those thieves throughout the game. So that's pretty much the setup as it goes. And I think we are ready for a little bit of the mechanics.
Yeah, absolutely. So again, without kind of going in, we're not really showing you how to play this game.
Right.
But to give you an idea of sort of what the round structure looks like, 'cause there's a little bit going on here. First of all, this game does have that secret, I want to say not action selection, but you are selecting which
Priority
of your...
of actions.
action priority, I guess. Well, not even action priority. It's really thief priority. So each of your thieves, as Anthony mentioned, is different. They're represented by a different shaped meeple in your color, and they have the ability to hold different things. They're going to have different attributes and different friends, which are going to give them passive bonuses. So it really is powerful and part of the strategy to assign them in a certain way so that you can take actions on the board that are going to be most beneficial to you for your turns. As you go back and forth. Right. So that's what you'll start off doing, is actually assigning these secretly tokens to the individuals that you want to activate in that order. And then what you'll do on your turn, alternating, is player 1 will activate their number 1, player 2 will activate their number 1, and so on. And then you'll do that all the way through until you get to the end. So so that's the first piece, is actually doing that. Now, as Anthony mentioned, each of these are different. They're... you kind of have to look at their shapes because they all have these little bulging,
sacks.
naps. I was going to say bulging sacks. I was going to say knapsacks on their back. So that kind of make them look a little bit, the same. So you have to pay attention to that. But they are all very, very different. You also have your hideout on your board, which is going to demonstrate what is located in your hideout. So as your thieves come back to your hideout, they can pick up things that are in here or drop things off. And then, as Anthony mentioned too, you have your patrol board. The player 2 patrol board is a little bit different. And then with other player counts, you even have more opportunities to move the patrols around the board to your opponent's disadvantage, or to your advantage, I guess you could say. So all of that being said, the main crux of the game, you have this little tableau building, but then you really have a lot of pickup and delivery. So let's look at some of those opportunities here. Down in the villas, you have the opportunity to pick up these paintings. And when you pick up the paintings, they will look like this. They'll take up slots on your player board, and then you'll be able to cash them in over at a specific location on the board. And this is a little small, I don't think you can see it, but across the board you'll see these opportunities, a little like bandit glasses, I guess, with different actions on them. And this one is sort of like a broker type of thing.
Yeah, it's called a trader, right?
Yep, the trader.
Yeah,
so you'll take your painting there and trade it for all the points and glory and money on the back, as well as do a couple of other things. So each of these main locations do allow you to do multiple things on your turn, which is kind of cool. But anyway, that's how those work. Those are going to get you a lot of points. You also have smugglers, so you have some locations around the board that will allow you to smuggle things, because smugglers are always looking for goodies and you're the one that's going to go get them. So for example, here, if you happen to bring with you here one of these badges and then one of these like wine casks,
wine, yeah,
that will get you a sack of liquor and also 9 reputation. So those are the kinds of things you're going to want to be doing. Those will refresh as the game goes. Those are the biggest ones. There are some other ways to earn points. For example, at some of these locations, like the dungeon, you can cash in those badges. If you have a bunch of badges to cash in for 2 points each, you can do the same thing with wine up here in the taverns. And those are pretty much it. Those are like kind of your scoring opportunities. You will get points for picking up certain tools and things like that and bringing those into your collection here onto your tableau. And friends will also afford you the opportunity sometimes to get points passively, depending on where you're going and what you're doing.
Yep. Yeah, and some of those friends have end game abilities in end game scoring. So some of them will allow you to score certain types of items you have on your thieves or in your warehouse at the end of the game.
Yep.
So like Francis said, there's a ton of ways to go, and for the most part, you've got, like she said, you've got the broker jobs or the broker missions is basically what these are, right?
Yep.
They're gonna refresh every second. After the second and fourth round, those refresh. Otherwise, these aren't going to be. They're not going to come back out. So you can't keep getting them and then expect them to come back out. So they're used and then they don't come back until 2 more rounds. The paintings, they don't ever come back in the game. Right. So for the game, there's only 3 paintings in these villas. And they're kind of tough to get to because the guards are guarding those. The guards you can actually steal from as long as you stay out of their line of sight. And they each carry a badge, which, again, everything on this board and the missions refresh every second and fourth round. The nobles that you rob, you'll get a gem or 2 gold. That will refresh as well. Again, it flips over. They won't have any money on them for 2 rounds, and then they'll gain it back, right? If you rob the wine cart, you'll get wine, but this is how you'll pick up that wanted poster that Francis talked about. That you can either dump off at your hideout for free, and it doesn't give you anything, or in the dungeon, right? Yeah,
which it gives you mutual points.
Yep. A couple of things that are to note, like, okay, so what happens if I get caught by a guard? What's the big deal? If you get into the line of sight of a guard, your thief will basically lose all their items and they'll go to the dungeon. The items go to the dungeon. The thief goes back to your hideout, but then anybody can go to that dungeon and pick up those items.
Right.
So it's a big stop for you, right? Because it ends your actions, and then you kind of end up not being able to do anything.
And I will say strategically, so one of the kind of like one of the strategy points that you have to understand is that, yes, each of these thieves are unique. So if they're carrying something, it's only that thief that can go and trade with to the trader, go to the smuggler. But there are a lot of ways to exchange goods between the thieves. So obviously going to your hideout, you can do that. If you happen to hop over one of your other thieves, like if you're out here like this, you have the opportunity to trade with that thief. Or not trade, but, exchange goods or swap stuff. I figure it like, I don't know, it reminds me of like Oliver Twist or something. He's like running around all the things, like jumping, and they're like passing stuff off. So something along those lines. And then as far as getting around the board goes, you do find that it's, you might get blocked off sometimes by some of the guards and everything, as you would be if you were trying to traverse alleyways in a town like this. But again, friends do give you the opportunity sometimes to jump from place to place. Catacombs allow you to jump from catacomb to catacomb, which helps you get around the board a little bit easier. So a lot of the strategy is, how do I get around the board and get where I need to go without getting caught, obviously. And in the most, in the most efficient way, because you only have 6 rounds.
You only have 6 nights to get this done. And on your turn, which we didn't mention yet, is that you have 3 actions that your thief can take.
Yeah.
And it could be the same action over and over again. So you're like, okay, what do I do? Well, the first thing you probably want to do is move. Your thief can move up to 3 alley locations, right?
Yeah.
And moving around the board, it's important to note that like certain buildings, like these gray ones, you can go out of any
anywhere you see a dotted line.
Yep, and you move orthogonally, right? There's no diagonal. So you can move out, you can move around, but you're only getting to move 3 spaces, and then your second action would be move another 3 spaces. Your third action could be go another 3 spaces, and then you're done. Your turn's over. You didn't get to do anything. The orange buildings, which are all the activated buildings, have arrows, and those are the entranceways. So you can't just go into this building without actually going the entranceway. Right, just talked about jumping over people. All characters in this game you can jump over except for the guards. They'll arrest you. But like this noble, for example, if you were to move, your first move goes here, you can either go here, here, or here because you jumped over them, right? So by jumping over them, you take one move, will actually get you there.
Yeah, you can kind of consider like wherever that adjacent person is that you're jumping over, they're sort of now become part of your square, is the way I look at it.
It's like a free square. Yeah. Boom. And then when you go into a building, you have access to that whole building. You don't have to move to the other side of that building. Same goes for this big 4-square building. This is 1 square.
Yeah.
So you're like, okay, I'm going to go in here. But once you enter a building, your movement stops. So
this is a better example.
Yeah. So like you can go in here.
And come out here.
And then come out here. But the problem is you can't do that in the same action because when you move, one of the rules is you move 1, you move 2, your movement has to stop once you go inside of a location. So those are some important mechanics to understand because a lot of the game is trying to traverse the board. Different location types, just briefly go over. You've got the tavern, which allows you to get a friend, recruit a friend, sell wine for victory points, or sell liquor.
Buy liquor, yeah.
Buy liquor
you always
for $1.
Get it backwards, yeah.
Yeah, I get this backwards. So 1 coin. No. This is sell liquor. I'm right.
Oh, okay.
Buying liquor is over here.
Oh, okay.
Right?
No, that's backwards.
Oh,
this
backwards?
is give $1, get liquor.
Give $1, give So give $1.
You're always trying to give the wine skeins and get money.
And she's always calling them wine skeins, which I don't know what a wine skein is, but So at the tavern, you get to pay money for wine, or for liquor they call it, and then wine you can trade them for victory points, for reputation. I guess you're stealing wine from the cart and selling it back to the tavern, right? So there's 2 taverns. There's the market, and the market you go in and you use the action because those are your other actions. You're going to activate these buildings, so you activate it. You could fill up your inventory with gold, or you can also trade in your liquor for victory points.
Yeah.
Right? This is one way to generate victory points. Down here you've got the trader, which allows you to. He'll take your paintings for the whatever the bonus is on it. He'll also take gems for points, or allow you to buy equipment. So that's where you buy equipment. Yeah, it's not or. You can do all of that stuff as long as you can afford to. In most cases, as many times as you want, except for the recruiting stuff.
Yep.
But those are like the main building actions.
Yeah.
Real quick, last thing I think we'll touch on is you have these friends. We didn't even show you what these guys look like, right? Yeah. So if when you go to recruit a friend, you bring out 4 from the stack.
Is that Juma?
It's not an offer, so we might as well have Juma out here. He has, of course, there's Juma. You can recruit him. But they're going to pay the money. You're going to gain the victory points for getting them. But each of them has special abilities. Sometimes they're one-use abilities. Sometimes they will come with resources, but they all allow you to do different things like jump from location to location, or they'll boost your ability at a particular location. So like when he goes and does a smuggler action, he gets 2 gold and 2 victory points, so that's good. But there's a whole bunch of different friends here, and you have an opportunity to either take those friends and add one to your player board. Like I said, they go up top, but you're only allowed 1 per person.
Exactly, and you cannot change them.
Can't get rid of them.
Yeah.
If you don't like any of them, you can just pass. Or if you want to get a quick point, you can call what's a bar fight. You start a bar fight, and then that plugs up that slot, and you can never put another friend in there. So you have a few different options of what you can do, but really it comes down to what you want to do and how you want to play your characters.
Yeah.
Because then again, that friend only benefits that one particular thief.
Exactly. Right.
So you do all that for 6 nights. And then whoever has the most reputation wins.
Yeah.
Really. All right, so I think we've covered
That's the long and short of it.
the long and short of the entire of the game and what it entails, right? So there's a lot of that going on. What else do we need to talk about as far as?
I think that's pretty much it. So this is on Kickstarter.
Yep.
So as you know, we never give our opinion on a non-published game. So this is not finished. What you're seeing right now looks really good, but not completely 100% done as far as anything goes, because it is prototype. So.
Exactly. Everything you saw here was prototype provided by the publisher, and 100% opinion free and unpaid. So this is really just demoing for you or presenting to you a game that's coming to Kickstarter and letting you see what it's all about. Yeah. I mean, I will say, subjectively, I'm very excited about the couple of games that Juma and his team at Karma have coming out. Just because of the success of Clans of Caledonia, I know that they put a lot of work into this stuff. You've got art by the Micho on here, which is pretty cool. Which you'll recognize from other games, many other games that he's drawn.
Yeah.
So, all right, I think that about sums it up. So we'll put all of the campaign information down below in the notes, and a link to the campaign as well. And I think that's really just about it.
What we've been enjoying doing, as opposed to kind of coming on the video and saying here's what we think. Let us know in the comments if you have any questions about our gameplay experience. So we have played this one a few times just to get a sense of obviously how it plays, so we can explain it to you, so we know what we're talking about. But if you have specific questions about it, let us know. And also, I know that the designers and the publishers a lot of times like to jump in the comments too and answer any other questions that you might have that we can't answer for you. So please engage there and let us know what you think. And if this is one that you think that you will be backing when it is released, or it might be released now, depending on when this video goes live.
All right. Well, thanks for watching. We hope to see you next time.
We'll see you.